It is Tuesday, all you mentees. That's right, it's time to take an advanced look at these collected editions coming out from Marvel this week. So, join me. Before getting started, a huge thank you to David Gabriel and the folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of these trade paperbacks. These books are due out in the direct market on September 29th, and then a few weeks later in the book market. So what we're looking at here are 3 trade paperbacks. Kind of a small week. Actually, it is a small week compared to some of the weeks that we've had. But that is something that I have mentioned on my Saturday live streams, is that through the change of distribution centers, we're going to get less and less books until November. And oh my gosh, November, whew, y'all better get those wallets ready. But enough about that, let's talk about these books. We are kicking it off a little bit different. Let's get crazy and wild today by showcasing these spines, which I usually hold off until the middle of the video, but here are all the spines together. First up is Captain Marvel by Kelly Thompson. This is volume 6 of her ongoing series, and this is a series I have been enjoying thoroughly. This is what the back cover looks like. It's beautiful. That's the one thing I want to mention first. It's these beautiful Marco Checchetto covers. They are gorgeous. I love his artwork. I'm so glad he's on an ongoing book. He's with Zdarsky on Daredevil, and these covers are awesome. So this is her, how do I put it? Her magic outfit, if you will. But just look at all the different Carols in the background. So yes, this is a series that I know I'm not alone. There's a lot of people that have been enjoying this series. But I will say this one right here, this particular volume, was kind of a bit of a bummer. I don't know why. Not a lot happened in here. So we have Carol dealing with the aftermath of this possible future that she returned from, where she wasn't able to save some of her friends. Even though it's a possible future and we all know how that works, she is dealing with that in her own way with PTSD. And she doesn't want to admit it. So, of course, her best friend Jessica and a bunch of other characters like L'Oreal, which I still think sounds like a makeup product, right? Isn't there a L'Oreal makeup product? You'll also have Monica Rambeau and Hazmat, Jennifer Takeda, who is not wearing her Hazmat outfit. And this kind of explanation reminds me a little bit of when the X-Men come back from the dead. Oh, I got better, kind of an explanation. But hey. You all know I'm a stickler for continuity, so that kind of stuff really bothers me when things aren't explained. Maybe it will be later, but here we have them going out on this speed dating kind of thing until that is interrupted by these big magical creatures. So that's kind of something that really sparks an idea in her head, that maybe in order to prevent this possible future from happening, she has to learn how to use magic. So she goes to, and she tells him pretty much all the troubles that she's having about this possible future. Doesn't really go into detail as to why. And he's like, sure, come along. She gets a whole new outfit, which is the outfit that you see on the cover. And actually, this is designed by Marco Checchetto. So he kind of shows her a little bit of magic and then eventually tells her, you know what, magic is not for you, Carol. It's not the way to fix things. So she moves on and tries to get other magic users around the Marvel Universe to try to help her. And they all kind of reject her, because Doctor Strange should just send out a note saying not to help Carol, which is kind of a douchebag move, but completely understood if you think that somebody is not going to be responsible enough to be able to handle all of the responsibilities that come with magic using. So she goes to one person that is completely unexpected. And one thing you may have noticed as I'm flipping through the artwork here is that the artwork here is done by Jacopo Camagni, and then issue 27 is done by, this is David Lopez. So David Lopez does issue 27, and then issues 28 through 30 are done by Jacopo Camagni. So yes, forgot to mention that. This does collect issues 27 through 30 of Kelly Thompson's run on Captain Marvel. So that's right, we have the Enchantress deciding to teach Carol how to use magic. And really, that's all I will say about this particular comic. The rest of it is just Carol learning how to use magic, or if she's even capable of using magic. But one thing I was going to say is that all of this just derived from the last volume, because a lot of things happened in the last volume, and maybe that's what I meant to say a little bit earlier, that this one was kind of a letdown, was because so much happened in the last volume that this one is just kind of calm, and not a lot of things happen in here, because you had the big fight with Ove in the last volume, you had the breakup between her and her significant other, so that's what she's dealing with in this particular volume, is all of the ramifications of what happened. Now, let's look in the back here for some extras. And speaking of extras, all the way in the back is this little story here that is drawn and written by Jamie McKelvey. And I've always been a big fan of McKelvey's artwork. Be talking about Young Avengers probably sometime next week, the reprint of that omnibus. But this is just a story about Kamala and Carol and just talking some things out. Thought it was a really cute story. Now, extras, as I was flipping through here, I'm sure you could probably tell that the covers, the standard covers, are always before the issue starts. So all the covers are collected here in chronological order, and then the variants are kept in the back. And believe me when I say sometimes the variants have nothing to do with what happens inside of the comic, such as David LaFuente's piece of art right here, or Rob Liefeld's. Or, I don't know, maybe or maybe not Deadpool does appear, because she was writing Deadpool. And then here are the character designs, what Marco Cicchetto was going through when designing the costume of this magical Carol. And this is all I will show you, because the last couple pages have some spoilers. Now, the book retails for $15.99 and has 112 pages. Cable, Volume 2 by Gerry Duggan. So, sadly, this is the last volume of Cable. Well, this particular Cable. Because the series was canceled. And I was really upset about that, because I was enjoying this series so much. I really have grown to love Gerry Duggan's writing. Whether it's through this here or through Marauders. But he has just really grown on me as an X-Men writer. And I'm sure he can write other comics too. The artwork here is done by Phil Noto. And the story is just, I don't know. I just feel like it's so wholesome. It's about reconnecting with family. So you have the first story arc, which is about Prestige and Cable, Teen Sensation Cable, teaming up with these detectives. And they're trying to find these missing mutant babies. There's a total of 10 mutant babies that are missing. And Rachel's like, yeah, I got this. I know how to do this. And the detectives are like, wait a minute. We've been doing this for 50 years together. You can't solve the case. And just like that, of course, this is Rachel Summers we're talking about, finds the children. 5 of them. And then there are 5 still missing. So immediately when I think of missing mutant children or missing babies in the X-Men lore, of course I think of Inferno. Of course I think of so many babies must die for Inferno to begin. And that's what I loved about this, because it surprised me, because that's where Gerry Duggan took us. Not to say that that's what's really going on, but there's this wonderful scene here where they get Magic's help, and of course Magic takes them to Limbo to visit Nastoreth, one of the key players of Inferno. Now, he's not the big surprise in this particular story. As a matter of fact, he's just kind of a little bit of a Easter egg cameo. But it's things like that that made me really enjoy this. As a longtime X-Men reader, I find joy in just little things like that. And, of course, the story is really intriguing. I like the chemistry between him and Phoenix, the little thing he's got going on with Esme, their relationship, and of course, Emma not really digging that, because she kind of knows where this is all going to go. Now, there are some other surprises that happen through these pages, especially issues 11 and 12 when it all comes together, and you can actually be okay with the ending. It actually makes sense why this series has to end. And I'm not showing any action sequences. As a matter of fact, this is nothing but dialogue. Oh, here we go. Here, there's a little bit of a fight here. But what I was going to say is that by the time you get to finish this, you'll see it wrap up. The story does wrap up nicely, and it leaves it open for more stories later on if another writer were to come in. But yes, so enjoyed this series. Sad to see it go. It is going to be released in oversized hardcover format sometime early next year. All 12 issues. And speaking of 12 issues, this collects issues 7 through 12 of Cable by Gerry Duggan. The book retails for $17.99 and has 160 pages. Now, as far as the extras in the back, of course, I'm censoring that final page of the series, but here is the cover to issue number 7, 8 and 9, and issue number 10. There's an issue number 12 variant here, but I will say that I can't show the cover to issue number 11 because issue number 11 and 12 have a connecting cover, and it kind of spoils what happens later on in the final part of this particular story. But yes, if you're not reading this, do yourself a favor and check it out, whether in oversized format or in this format, especially if you're a fan of X-Men comics. Or you can check it out in this format, the Reign of X anthology format. This is volume 4. And volume 4 collects Wolverine number 10, Excalibur number 17, X-Factor number 6, Cable number 8, and Children of the Atom number 1. I always like to point out what it collects because the solicits are wrong from time to time, especially during this era of Dawn of X and Reign of X. So let's go ahead and get this opened. And this kicks off with Wolverine number 10. And Adam Kubert just kicking all kinds of ass on artwork. There's some things, yeah, right here. There's some things he's doing here with his panels. And he's been doing this for quite a number of years. Just experimenting with panel layouts. And I know it can get a little bit overwhelming and confusing sometimes, especially if you're not used to reading comics and reading just the order of the panel flow. But this to me is just awesome. It kind of sets the tone of what this scene is like. It's mayhem. It's crazy. That's the way it's supposed to be. So, I mean, he is doing his father proud. So here we have the return of Maverick, and this is all because of that auction that was going on where characters are getting together in Madripoor to sell off just superhero stuff, including auctioning off Maverick. So there's this nice team up between these Weapon X members. And that takes us to Excalibur number 17. Of course, in the aftermath of Sword of X of Swords, almost called it Sword of X. But here are your key players. And there's also a return of Peter Wisdom, which I always enjoy throughout these pages. But this is an interesting story because you have a team up here between Quanon and Psylocke. Oh, Psylocke, gosh. Old habits, I swear. Psylocke and Captain Britain. And I was explaining to my brother this history of Quanon and Betsy Braddock, and I think he finally understood what I was talking about, because he's catching up with the Dawn and Reign of X. He's really enjoying this era of X-Men, and he hasn't read X-Men in over a decade, I want to say. But anyway, if you've read X of Swords and you're wondering what some of these characters are doing here, how they're still alive, well, all I'm going to say is we don't know if this is all taking place in the present, or if this is taking place in the past, or if this is even taking place on this plane of existence. This all could be done through the psychic plane, right? I'll let you figure that out. And we have this beautiful cover here of X-Factor. This is X-Factor number 6, I think? Yeah, right here. Here's all the key players. I love that they do this, and I hate that they do this because sometimes I want to be surprised as to who's going to be inside of the book. I think I mentioned that. I can't remember what I reviewed the last time. Was it New Mutants or whatever it was? I was upset that they kind of spoiled one of the big surprises in there. Oh, it was the Sword. That was it. So, yes, continuing the story of X-Factor investigations, investigating murders. Sadly, the series got canceled. I hate to see it go because I really like Leah Williams' portrayal of Polaris. It's one of my favorites. One of my favorite highlights in this particular issue, though, happens between Prodigy and Dr. Reyes, where he's trying to figure out what happens to some of the corpses. What happens after the autopsy's done? Where do the corpses go once she's figured out the cause of death? I thought that was a good conversation and a good dynamic between two characters that haven't really interacted with each other. Hey, I just talked about this issue of Cable, but so if you saw my interview with Josh Greathouse the other day, or yesterday if you're watching this, in chronological order, I caught a little bit of a, yeah, right here. It's a editor. This flew by the editors, but it's where Domino says, for most of our lives, you were told old before me, and now instead of too old, they wrote told, and I guess that flew under the editor radar. That's all I will say about this, because I talked about Cable a little bit ago. And that takes us to this new series, Children of the Atom. I find this interesting. This is Vida Ayala's new series. It was a mini-series, and I want to say this was supposed to take place before the dawn of X. And it kind of feels like a lot of it has been rewritten. So we're introduced to 5 new characters: Cherub, Marvel Guy, Cyclops, Lass, Gimmick, and Daycrawler. Not the first time we've seen characters become legacy characters to X-Men. We've seen it in the pages of X-Men 2099. We've seen it in the pages of Uncanny X-Men and Adjectiveless X-Men. So it's not the first time somebody has, quote-unquote, ripped off Cyclops' look or Gambit's look. But this I find interesting. I don't know how I feel about it yet. It's only one issue in. I do dig the artwork, though. It reminded me a lot of Kev Walker, and I'm a big Kev Walker fan. So the basic premise of this story is that there's these 5 teenagers that I just talked about, and they've been invited to Krakoa. And here we have Pixie, Magma, and this guy right here, Maggot, one of my least favorite X-Men. But hey, I think there's a total of 10 people that love Maggot out there that wanted him back. Well, here he is. Anyway, they're trying to recruit them to come back to Krakoa, just like all the other mutants, and they kind of say no, they want to stick it out. They want to see what happens. They want to just stay behind. So I find this scene pretty interesting. I don't know how I feel about this yet, about these characters, just talking about these kids, like, no, they should be here, we should make them come here. I don't know, it almost felt a little bit out of character, but maybe that's just me. Then again, it is this age of Dawn of X, this age of Krakoa, so everybody acts a little bit different. But yeah, check out this artwork. This is what I've really enjoyed. And yeah, these 5 mutant characters just decide to not go to Krakoa and decide to just, you know, put up with the police, put up with all these things that come with being a teenage superhero. So, don't know how I feel about it. There is a trade paperback. Actually, I need to get back on reading that. I'm on issue number 2. But this particular trade has 152 pages, and it retails for $17.99. Let's look at the back here for just a little bit of the extras. I've always loved this image. This is the image from X-Men #1 that Jim Lee drew all the way in the back of the deluxe edition. And it's been recolored, of course, for this. And they used it as a cover for the Children of the Atom Hidden Gem variant. That's Todd Knock right there. And Bernard Chang. Bernard Chang, I'm so sorry, I forgot to mention that. Bernard Chang is the artist on Children of the Atom. But that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They pride themselves on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Check out the bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. CGN is excited to announce that they are now taking pre-orders. They're making it easier for you to ensure that you don't miss out on the hottest releases. CGN is currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, let them know that you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. This promotion is valid for U.S. customers only. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount and quality shipping and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of these trades. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you're picking up, which series you're following in trade paperback format, which ones you're hoping that they upgrade to an omnibus format. We know there's a Cable oversized hardcover coming out early next year, but I'm wondering if anybody would be interested in Cable as part of the Dawn and Reign of X omnibus, if that's ever to come. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. And speaking of live, tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Old Reader, New Reader. And of course, Maddie heads that every week, so every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have an Old Reader, New Reader segment on the channel that is live. So come and join and talk about the books that they're talking about. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Please, everybody, stay healthy, stay safe. Much love.